Hey, this is Norius, and I'm this time bringing you another deck profile for Victory Spark. This time is a Last Exile deck for the character Millia. So this character, the objective of this deck is actually the opposite of the Famu deck. This one, you want to have a really low amount of energy, so you can effectively make use of your support. And there's also one level 3 in here, which also pumps yourself really high depending on how low your energy is. The start of my deck is Millia. Basically her effect is I can send one standing energy to my waiting room, and when I do that I choose one little sister trait character in my hand and put it on my bench. So at the cost of one standing energy going into my waiting room, I can effectively play any card from any little sister character, which is the whole deck, from my hand to the field. This combos really well with my level 4, which I'll talk about later on. Around 2 more copies of it, because this is a really strong starter for this deck, and you really want to keep it alive. So yeah, if you have more copies, you have more copies to use. Next off, for this, basically this character, when I spark it, I choose one of my opponent's card in their waiting room and put it into their energy, because this deck doesn't really require you to have a lot of energy, but in a lot of their effects only trigger when my opponent has a lot more energy. So this gives them more energy, and when I do that, I pick up the top 2 cards in my deck, look at them, and then put one on the top and one on the bottom, so I can selectively choose out which card I want to spark out or add to my hand when they don't have any more attackers. So it's a good card to have a little top deck peeking, gain the blow advantage. Next card, Little Bird, 4 copies of Little Bird Millia. This is a power boosting support, but then this one becomes really huge if my opponent has a ton of energy. So this is effectively like a counter to the Famu deck by itself. Basically, for every fewer energy I have than my opponent, when this card supports during this battle, it will gain 500. So most of the time, this deck will have 1 or 0 energy. Even like, yeah, it's not even that hard to gain 0 energy and still have a full field. And if you're against a Famu deck and they have 12 energy, that's the next. Yeah, it's a huge power boost. That's extra 3k power just from one card. It's a very nasty card. And then lastly, 4 fire triggers. Like I say, fire triggers are mandatory in 4 in every deck. Gotta run them. And then 2 copies of Sylvius Millia. This card partners with my starter, but its effect isn't that great. It only triggers if I have no cards on my bench, which is only after I get my field wiped by a fire trigger, and then I have to hope I spark into one of these to trigger its effect. So I might as well only run 2 copies just because it's partners with my starter. Other than that, I'll never get the effect off. It's just really hard to pull it off. Then 4 copies of Embarrassed Millia. Basically, this card is a spot removal card, but unlike most spot removal cards, which return a hand or send to the waiting room, this card sends the opponent's card into their energy. so it gives me a bigger difference between my energy and their energy. That really good card. And 3 copies of Flight Suit Millia. This is my universal partner block for characters with Emoto in their trait, or little sister. That gotta run some universal partner blocks. Then 4 copies of Resolve Millia. Basically, this character is very similar to my starter Dress Famu, but instead of setting a standing energy to play a little sister trait from my hand to the stage, this character, I send any state, any energy, even in rest or reverse, and then I send the card in my ring, the little sister trait character in my ring, into the waiting room. So this card allows me to spark a second card every turn. So it's a very good card, you gotta run it. And run 2 copies of Heartache Millia. Let's see, when I spark this card, I put 1 card on my opponent's, let's see, yeah, I draw 1 card first. And for every card I draw, I send the top card of my opponent's deck into their energy. So this effectively gets me a more hand advantage, as well as giving me a bigger gap between my energy and their energy. But I wish I had 2 more copies of it. I would actually run 4 of these, but I only got 2. So gotta work with what I have. And then lastly, for level 2s, for cancels, this deck just dies to fire triggers, really, because I have such a tiny energy pool. I won't have enough energy to pull all my characters back in 1 turn. So I gotta run 4 to stop those fire triggers from going off. But even then, this cancel only stops automatic effects. So if my opponent cancels one of these, I won't be able to stop them afterwards. Yeah. Kinda wish Millia had a better cancel. And next, 3 copies of Maid Dress Millia. Basically, this character, when I spark it, I choose 1 character in my little sister trait character in my waiting room, and put on an empty spot on my bench. So yeah, during the early game, if they do kill my starter, or Resolve Millia, or even my power boosting support, if I spark one of these, I can pull them back out from my waiting room. Yeah, this helps me keep more of my power cards on my field, because this deck rarely gets destroyed by spot removal and fire triggers. And then I run 4 copies of this Millia. Basically, her effect is for every fewer energy I have to my opponent, she gains 500 power. Well, basically most decks that I'm gonna be playing against will have around 6 energy, unless I'm playing against a Famu deck, where then I'll have like 12 energy. So this effectively gains around 3k energy, making it just as powerful as any level 4 out there. It's one of my main attackers of this deck. And if I'm against Famu deck, this gets like a 6k power boost, which is just stupid. And then afterwards, I run 2 copies of Turan Princess Amelia. And just like my Sylvia's Millia, her effect is Well, that's okay. It's actually better than my Last Millia. Basically, if I have fewer energy than my opponent, it gives me an extra energy. It's pretty good. And then I can use the energy for my Last Millia or Resolve Millia to get rid of and play more characters out. And lastly, for level freeze, 4 heal triggers. Gotta run them in every deck. And then for level 4s, I only run 3 of them. It's Landscape of Day Millia. So yeah, it's a level 4, so it's gonna be really hard for this deck to actually use rest energy to pull it out. But her effect is when this card is played onto the ring, I can send one of my energy into the waiting room, and then it gains a 1500 power boost until the end of my turn. So if I trigger it out during the spark, if I spark it out, then it won't actually end on my opponent's turn. It will end during my turn. So it gets a power boost of 2 turns if I use it on my opponent's turn. So to actually play this character out, a combo is having 2 energy and using Last Millia to actually pull it out. So if I have Last Millia back, I can use her effect and send one of my energy into the waiting room in my standing energy, and then I can play this card into my ring and send my last energy into the waiting room as well. So I can effectively play this character out with only 2 energy as opposed to most level 4s. So only 2 energy, I can play this out. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's my Last Exile Millia deck. And this is Norius signing out.